Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back once again with another episode of Movie Time. What's up, y'all? You got Rene, LOWKEY GEEK here with my buddy Blake the Wolf. What's going on, dude?
How's it going, man?
Good. I'm excited. Well, I'm always excited every time we do these episodes, but I feel like this is going to be an interesting one because for you guys and gals watching, we are going to go through a ranking of all the streaming platforms, at least the ones that are more prominent and what probably most of you have dabbled in or currently subscribed to, because there's been a lot of talk in the news about Netflix, you know, losing subscribers and all that stuff like that. And you have HBO Max that gained a whole bunch of subscribers, you know, in the last several months. So I think now is a better time than ever to go through them and kind of, you know, talk about our experiences with each and give like a master ranking of what we think is your best bang for your buck. Of course, everyone's list is going to be different because everyone has their own personal taste and what they love to watch and all that. So do take this list, you know, with a little bit of grain of salt because it may be different from yours. But I think it was just be a good way to talk it out and see, do we really need like a Hulu subscription? Do we really need like a Peacock subscription and all that stuff like that? So as always, whatever we talk about, it'll be great to hear what you think and what your personal opinions are. So as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you're brand new to the channel and watching this video, welcome. Show your love. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like. Punch it. You know, tickle it, dabble on it, whatever, dribble on it, you know, do something to it. It's only going to take you a quick second and it helps us spread the word on this great show. For audio listeners, again, podcast platforms of your choosing, look for the LOWKEY GEEK channel there, and you can find this episode and others available to download. So I think one of the good things we could start off with right now, Blake, and you could tell me if I'm wrong. Let's talk about the ones we're not going to be like going so deep into, like, because there's a lot of like niche platforms out there. But I think it's worth mentioning some because for a lot of people, they may have the exact needs that they're looking for. And I know you have some in mind. So what are some of those niche platforms that you personally like?
I know we're covering the major ones today, the Netflixes, the Hulus, the Apple Pluses. The more niche ones that I use more often than even a bunch of those, it's Criterion has their app, and TCM is a big fave of mine. Those are good ones if for Criterion, if I'm wanting something that is high art, international cinema, great indie art house films that are curated by a company with a reputation like Criterion. I think any cinephile film lover already knows about that and might already have that. So we're not kind of putting it in the other category. It doesn't belong with the other ones who are doing more of a general, you know, all of the movies are up for them trying to add it to their library. The other one is TCM. TCM's an old favorite of mine. I remember growing up watching black and white movies with my mom on Saturdays on our local PBS channel. And that hits a sweet spot for me. It's like Saturday morning, I'm tired, I'm hungover, I want just some comfort food and put something on that's an old black and white movie. If you have a date coming over, don't Netflix and chill. TCM and chill. Trust me, it's the best move every time. It's got a lot of the old classics, a lot of the old black and white, some stuff from the 1920s, 30s, 40s era. And it also, I'm surprised, I've seen it have more recent stuff more often. So there's ones where I am surprised that it's on TCM. It doesn't necessarily fit that old black and white movie vibe. But there are a bunch of great movies. And if you feel like I want to get caught up on cinema or I want to put on some comfort food, that's my favorite one for that.
Yeah, no, those are two. Yeah, for sure. Like obviously, Criterion is another favorite of mine for sure because I just love the curated you know, movie selection that they have there. A lot of great classics, you know, some new, you know, recent stuff, It's just a lot of the movies that I fell in love with as like a lover of movies, they have there, and it's just really really great to see. Um, since I do dabble in anime every now and then, Crunchyroll is a great one, you know. But again, it's so niche. If you are into anime, then that is probably something you subscribe to already, because it's definitely one of the premier apps for that. And then, yeah, I don't currently subscribe to it now, but I think a platform like Shudder, like for the horror fans and all that, like that's a great place to go to for stuff like that. And the platform Mubi, MUBI, that's another one that's really like honed in on like the indie scene. So there's a lot of indie movies there, some international flavor in there as well. Again, it's so niche that not a lot of people would probably look into these platforms to subscribe to on a regular basis. But if you happen to have a chance to get maybe a free trial or something like that, you could definitely check it out, and they might have some stuff for you there. So yeah, good stuff there. But yeah, let's dive into, I think the best one to dive into. Let's just go for the beast right now, and let's talk about Netflix, right? So Netflix, once upon a time, used to be the service you would subscribe to where they would send you DVDs in the mail. And I remember jumping on that train like probably a year after it was first introduced. And I've been a member ever since. Obviously, they made the transition to digital. And in all the years now, it's like it feels like they've gone away from being the platform to curate a lot of movies that maybe you missed out on in the theaters and all that, into more of their own programming, right? They have a lot of their own Netflix specific programming, whether it's documentaries, docuseries, reality shows, you know, cooking shows, you name it, they have it. It's also a prime destination if you're into Korean dramas. Like, it's a huge Korean drama section, and I know a lot of people have Netflix because of that. They do offer also, you know, good cartoons for kids. They do have like a pretty decent, robust anime section too for anime lovers. They just basically wanted to cater to everybody. And I think that may be an issue with them right now. It's because there's too much content to really watch in this one platform that most of the time you don't know what the hell you want to watch when you're on this platform, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons why they invented the shuffle feature. For those people who can't make up their mind, they'll just hit shuffle, and based off of your viewing history, they'll throw something up there, and then hopefully that'll be something you'll be into, right? So as far as prices are concerned, I think Netflix is definitely also on probably the higher tiered level of pricing, but depending on what you're going to use it for, right? Obviously, most of these platforms have their standard basics tiers. Netflix has one for $9.99. And then it goes on into a standard tier, which is $15.49, which allows up to 2 screens you could watch. So like if you have somebody that you're sharing the plan with, then that's great for them. And then their premium, which is kind of like their quote unquote family plan, is $20, right? $19.99 and all that. And then that of course will come with HD availability and all this kind of stuff like that. So, and these prices have gone up recently. And one of the things to keep in mind too is that Netflix is one of the platforms that they do have a reoccurring uptick in pricing with their tiers. Something that a lot of other platforms do not. But as time goes on and more people are streaming online, I'm sure that's eventually going to change. What are your thoughts about Netflix, Blake, and how does it work for you?
I think I have the longest relationship with Netflix out of any of these. I didn't have cable growing up, so like even HBO wasn't part of my life. And then college hits, and that's around when Netflix is starting to take off in the mailer world. So I remember it's my second year of college, and I'm getting Netflix DVDs in the mail. Netflix, if I owe you any DVDs, can we call it a day? I'm sorry, they're in my apartment somewhere. They're in a box. I don't know. My bad.
Same. Yep. I have 2 somewhere. I know for a fact.
Obviously, those will be worth something just for the packaging. This is also when we're competing with Redbox days, which I haven't thought about Redbox until this episode. I was like, oh, right. When I
Hmm.
used to go to the pharmacy, rent movies, and this is obviously, especially for our any younger viewers, this is like Blockbuster is starting to decline. But 2006, 2010, it was a bit of a Wild West situation. What I remember is, well, I'm going to say it's 2008, 2009 ish. Netflix is offering streaming for the first time. Maybe technically they had it a little before. I don't know. The
Yeah.
first time at college, and it was maybe off memory, something like 50 movies, 100 movies that you could stream. Bandwidth was an issue. Um,
Hmm.
and the quality of movies was, for the most part, absolute garbage. It was
Right.
like, what were the movies that no one wanted the rights to that they'd let them lapse or something like
Yep.
that? It was
Hmm.
C-list, pulpy, D-minus weird crap, and you would still find yourself watching it. And I think that almost would be like their trial balloon, where they're like, oh, people would rather watch anything from the comfort of their home than even go to Blockbuster or the Redbox or the Netflix kiosk back when that existed. Or I used to get movies from the library. Like we're talking
Hmm.
about a totally different world back when the library, when we're comparing streamers libraries, there was actually at the public library when that was the best option for a while for where to
Right.
get random movies other than Blockbuster. So Netflix is the one where that's going to be the first streamer that I ever properly enjoyed in that way. And then
Hmm.
in not too long, we're doing Hulu, and I'm doing live TV or current TV shows on Hulu. That feels, I don't know what the timeline is on those, but those are back to back. We'll get to Hulu in a second.
Hmm.
I've had Netflix for as a subscription for almost that entire time, and
Yeah.
as their prices increased, I know that every time a price increases on any service, people freak out. That's it. This is the last time. You're not going to get one more dollar out of me. But then I think the value is there. Like you're
Hmm.
saying, their problem is that their library is too big. That's a pretty sweet problem to have.
Sure.
When we're talking about like the user interface, some of these it's interesting because when you have that big of a library, what do you do? And the shuffle is one option. I personally am never going to click a shuffle button. I don't.
Yeah.
I want someone else curating something for me, not just a random. I don't like that at all.
Right.
Um, and we've also seen Netflix go from original content and the House of Cards era to them trying to win an Oscar every
Mhm.
year and being in the runnings, and then this being their closest year where they were the favorites up until the week before when Apple Plus, which we'll get to maybe a little lower on the list, when
Yeah.
they come in and steal it from them. What I've heard, they might try to get out of that game entirely because it's just I don't know what the payoff is.
Hmm.
My other understanding is among their executives, you have people who are true film lovers who enjoy the art of movies, and it's more of a passion project than maybe uh, just ones and zeros, bottom line stuff. So
Right.
I use Netflix pretty frequently. It's not my number one, which I'm sure we'll get to soon. It's
Hmm.
maybe like a two or a three. It's more. It's often the one I'll throw on when you've got a group of people. And when we're talking about the UI, the issue with Netflix had been before the one where if you want to kill 2 hours going through a library, trying to figure out what to watch and then not watching anything because oh no, now it's bedtime. That was like
Hmm.
the first place that did that properly. Where
Yeah.
there were like entire evenings I spent. At one point, I had a few hundred movies on my queue, and I got through very few of them because
Yep.
more things kept popping up. And there's also the thing where each month, what's leaving Netflix, what are they adding? And I would watch that and just to make sure I didn't lose something before it was gone. But there's
Hmm.
so much, and now not only Netflix has so much, there's so many streamers who have so much. You almost like
Yeah.
it's just sand through your fingers at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
Netflix, I know we ranked these on UI, selection, and value, and Netflix
Mhm.
is among the highest ranked on all three categories. I think it's my number two choice overall.
Cool. Yeah. I think for me, my own personal ranking for this is probably three right now. I used to watch Netflix a whole lot more. But that was obviously before all of these other platforms were introduced, and now my time is spread like all over the place, right? But I do still love Stranger Things, so Netflix is always going to be part of my subscription. I do like Ozark, which is ending now, so I'm really, really looking forward to that. So I have Netflix because of that. Plus, I do like documentaries, and I do feel like Netflix has become the go-to, especially for like true crime documentaries. Like they have a new one almost every week. So I do like Netflix for that. Netflix has also tried a lot of innovative things to engage viewers. Like they have those interactive shows now that you could like interact with. It's almost like a choose your own adventure, which I do find fascinating. And I do think it's a lot of fun. And Netflix has also gone into gaming. So if you have the app on your mobile phone, they do let you access some games that they've kind of produced themselves. Right now, the selection isn't huge, but who knows? Maybe in time that's going to grow. I think the only problem with Netflix right now is that they've always been in debt, and they've always thrown tons of money at names and movies. You know, they have exclusivity with Dave Chappelle, and you know, then they have like directors like Scorsese, who did The Irishman just for Netflix, and other kind of like well-known Hollywood directors and actors and actresses. So it's always interesting to see what's going to come next, but not all of them are always home runs either, you know, and that's a problem. So I think now with their subscriber base dropping and you know, basically they're bleeding money, we are going to see them cut back on some of that, and maybe they'll cut, you know, shows that you were a huge fan of, but they just can't afford to move on with it anymore. Or like you said, stop the whole Oscar push and, you know, just really focus on what is going to be the best content for them moving forward, you know. So it is really interesting to just see how far they've come this whole time. But I do feel like Netflix will always be part of my subscription rotation, just because I do find things that I do end up watching on Netflix, even though it may not be my go-to platform each time. Yeah.
For sure. They do the things, my understanding, which they're private with a lot of their numbers, like on how many people watch something.
Yeah.
I know that whenever supposedly that the movies like whatever the new The Rock and Ryan Reynolds ones are, just any of those are just apparently like the most watched things in the history of eyeballs.
Mhm.
And that is interesting. And I'm kind of concerned that they say, well, we wanted to be a prestige venue for great film directors. We have like Noah Baumbach releasing their movie on there, or Roma a few years ago.
Mhm.
And they're saying, hey, Oscar worthy directors, we'll give you a blank check that no other studio will give you. Do whatever you want. You get final cut. And they had that deal. I'm a little concerned that we go away from that.
Yeah.
But Netflix does a good job of, if you want a binge-worthy TV series, I think of them as like one of the original binge streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And then if you want the art house thing, they have those in the library that they've been investing in or purchased. They have some anime, so it's almost like if you wanted to give money to another streamer, they're going to find a reason for why you could also stay with them.
Mhm.
Um, but they do all of those things well enough. I'm curious what the future holds for sure.
No, definitely. And you know, one last thought about, like, for me personally, when it comes to UI, I think my only biggest complaint is them playing trailers to something that you're just hovering over each time, instead of like being allowing me just to go through a list. It's like, oh, trailer, and sometimes it's not even a trailer. Sometimes it's just a snippet from the show or the movie. I'm like, wait, hold on, I don't want to see this yet. You know, it's so that's one thing that I'm surprised they haven't found a way to turn that off, unless I'm missing it. Because like the way I've watched Netflix is you have to pay more money for it, right?
No, it's follow the money. It's that they're literally trying to keep your eyeballs on their service as
Right,
long as
right.
possible. They don't
No,
want to give you
that
that option. And
yeah,
you're right. Sometimes it gets me. For the most part, I'm resentful. I'm like, nah, not today. I kind of wanted to watch that. Now I'm not going to. Take that.
right.
I'm certain that when people leave their TV on and it keeps doing that, That's
Yeah.
got to work. If people are hitting shuffle, it'll definitely do the. If you like this, you'll also like. There's plenty of people where that's working for sure. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, and I'm also curious as to, again, how are they going to sort out their subscriber base and the fall off. I think one thing that a lot of other platforms are doing is that when it comes to their exclusive shows, they're doing more of a week to week release instead of releasing all episodes at once, right? Because again, if you like Stranger Things, right, and you just want to watch Stranger Things and then that's it, what's to stop you from subscribing for 1 month, watch it all in one shot, and then cancel your subscription and get the hell out, right? So it's like, will they adapt to a better model for themselves? I think personally they probably should, because that's the only way you can guarantee people to at least stick around for 2 months or 3 months, right? But we'll see. But like you said, they were the ones that kind of came up with the whole binge phenomenon, and I feel like there's a lot of people, especially the younger generation, who prefers it that way. So it's going to be definitely interesting to see the next couple of years how Netflix is going to pan out for sure. Hey guys and gals, looking for the latest and greatest in collectibles and pop culture merchandise? Well, have I got the perfect destination for all of you. Entertainment Earth is the premier place online for the latest and greatest toys, the most exciting action figures, and the coolest gifts and collectibles pop culture has to offer. From television, movies, sports, collectibles, comics, internet memes, and every fandom in between. They drop new products daily and curate their selection so you don't miss out. Whether you're looking for something stellar from a galaxy far, far away with Star Wars, or from the streets of Gotham City with DC Comics, they've got surprises for everyone. Get access to exclusive releases and limited run pre-orders. You can even reserve hard to find items before they arrive. From Funko to Hasbro, all your favorite vendors are represented in their robust catalog of cool collectibles. They are pleased to offer risk-free shopping with their industry-leading mint condition guarantee and hassle-free 90-day returns. Entertainment Earth has been making pop culture fans happy for 25 years now and have no signs of slowing down. What's great is that for U.S. shoppers, they're currently offering free shipping for any orders placed above $49. Not in the U.S.? Don't worry. Entertainment Earth ships globally. Visit the special link in the description of this episode to take advantage of this offer and buy yourself or a loved one something really cool. Entertainment Earth, so many toys, so much fun. So I think the next big dog in the house right now, and it's definitely one of the newer ones, is HBO Max. So, I mean, obviously, if you are a cable subscriber or all that kind of stuff like that, you are very familiar with HBO, home box office, as they used to call it back in the day, right? And the great thing about HBO is that they've always had a good selection of movies to choose from, and their TV shows are actually very top notch, like high level stuff, your Game of Thrones, your Sex in the Cities, all that stuff like that, huge fan bases for anything. And each time they put a show out there, usually it becomes the talk of the week or the talk of the month or the talk of the year. It's always going to be that way. When they teamed up with Warner Brothers, they were able to come up with HBO Max. So now you have access to a robust Warner Brothers catalog. All the DC properties that, if you're a fan of, you could easily find it through there. They have partnerships with a Studio Ghibli, so if you love like those movies that they put out, you have access to that. TCM, they also have like a limited partnership with those guys, so if you didn't want to pay for TCM separately, at least you do have a small curated selection that you could watch those movies on HBO. I believe it's one of the few that you could find all the Godzilla movies right now, like the classic Godzilla movies. So if you're a big fan of Godzilla monster movies, that's like a great place to go to for that. And if you are a huge fan of Cartoon Network, well, I think all the Cartoon Network programs are available in HBO Max right now. And lastly, again, for the kids, it's now the home of Sesame Street. So if you want your Sesame Street fix for your kids, that's the only platform you can go on and watch that stuff, which is unfortunate because I always hoped and thought that Sesame Street was supposed to be easily accessible for everyone and not having to have to pay for it. So that's really a bummer there. But as far as pricing is concerned, they have their tier with ads for $10 a month, and then if you want an ad free experience plus 4K and and HD, you pay $14.99 a month. Cool thing is that they do allow you to pay for the whole year, which has some added discount. Like, so for with ads you could pay $100, you save 16% there. If you wanted to go ad free, you could pay $150, and that's also a 16% discount. And again, these we're only covering stuff in US terms, so it may be very different for international viewers and all that. You'll have your own tiers and names of platforms, so definitely be mindful of that. But Blake, for you, like HBO Max, how does that work for you?
HBO Max is the main one that I use. HBO Max is the one I if I'm it, I'm curious when I use one versus the other, and sometimes I'll just kind of
Mhm.
it'll be more random of whatever's already on. I know when I'm by myself and I say I want to watch quality content, I'm clicking on HBO Max and going through their library or checking my watch list. As far as TV shows go and original content, it's top notch. It's great
Yeah.
stuff. They're like the origins of prestige golden age TV, of
Hmm.
Sopranos type of stuff.
Yeah.
They're Game of Thrones. That they're really good at the amount of HBO TV shows that I've enjoyed and loved has to beat out any other service that I can think of. A lot of places have the one-offs like Mad Men and Breaking Bad. Congratulations, you got two great shows. Pound for pound, HBO is untouchable in that way.
Yeah.
Plus, their library and their film library is pretty solid. They have
Hmm.
a lot of random things, and kind of I get the Netflix vibe from them a little bit of, oh, I could just go through, and there's a lot of things that I would never watch or I'm half interested in. It doesn't feel as watered down as Netflix does either. I think it was kind of I don't know what HBO's reputation was before my lifetime, like 80s, 90s, 2000s
Hmm.
era. But I've always
Yeah.
thought of them as kind of like a Criterion type of thing where they're curating and saying, oh, if you want to watch a good movie, we'll put it on for you. And they've
Yeah.
kind of kept that same spirit today, even when it's not their original content.
Hmm.
So that's what I mainly think of them for. And then, right, you mentioned they have some TCM and Criterion type of movies on their channel now. That makes all the difference in the world. That's where it really puts them over the edge for me. So I can
Yeah.
watch the show I'm currently obsessed with is Winning Time. I can watch a
Yes.
favorite of the last few years, Barry,
Yeah.
on any given week, and those are for me. Those are appointment viewing. When it drops, I go as soon as possible to HBO that night.
Hmm.
But on top of that, they have a lot of those favorites that I'm interested in watching of great high quality cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I think is worth mentioning on their selection, which is where I have them top ranked hands down. I went through my Letterboxd, Blake Wolf SSN, at Letterboxd. Follow me there. We talk about it every episode. But on my Letterboxd, I have five. I have a watch list with about 500 movies and a list of my 150 favorite movies. The amount of those that Netflix has on its platform blows all of the others out of the water, and it's not because
Hmm.
I built it off of scrolling through HBO or anything like that. I
Yeah.
literally have 3 times more of movies on my watch list than the next closest one, which is Netflix. They have 75, Netflix has 27. There's other of the services we'll go to that have 1 or 10 or something like that. So that's it makes sense why it's my favorite, and maybe it's more geared towards me and not the average viewer. But
Hmm.
I believe in their library more. Plus, they have so many different things that they offer. So that's why they're a big favorite for me on the selection of my 150 favorite movies. They have 20 of them. The next closest one is 12.
Right.
To me, their selection is the best. And I also really like their UI. When I'm going through, they're one where it's easy for me to just click through and find something. I think it might be the most frictionless one where the amount of times I have to click before I find something I want to watch, they have that for sure. Maybe it's just because they're not as watered down as Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Like UI wise, I do find them to be one of the easier platforms to use. And as far as like my history with HBO, I could tell you how it was in the 80s. I mean, basically, you had a box in back of your TV that you would switch on, and basically that gave you access to HBO on like channel 3 or something like that. And
Wait,
you
wait,
had
wait, 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 wait. They had their own hardware?
yeah,
It
so
wasn't.
basically you had to pay someone to come and wire you in, and they would install this switch box in the back of your TV. And every time you wanted to access HBO, you would go to whatever default channel, usually it's like channel 3, and you would switch on this box, and then boom, now you have access to HBO.
That isn't like a dish service where now you have access to other things and HBO is on there. It was
Right.
literally an HBO device. So the sound,
Yep.
sound, is that like the sound it made, like back in dial-up days or something? I don't know what
Not
the word.
even. It was like imagine imagine like when you had a Nintendo back in the day,
Yeah.
and you would hook it up like with all the weird wires in the back, and you would turn to channel 3, and then you'll turn on your Nintendo and it'll just pop up. That's basically how HBO worked. It worked basically the same way. It's just you had a switch that would just switch on, and now there's HBO on channel 3.
It's live TV. You don't get to adjust anything. It's not like, oh, now you have access to a VCR's worth of movies. It's just
Yeah.
a box that gives you access to the satellite in the sky or whatever.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
basically. Yeah, and
Wow.
then they had their own schedule, just like any other network TV. And I remember I had a babysitter that I would go to their place, and my highlight of the day was to finally watch HBO, so that because back then HBO was the place where you could find Fraggle Rock, which was like a huge thing for me. They had a huge library of the Looney Tunes cartoons and movies that they came out with. And then you had, your random movies, which was either Indiana Jones, or sometimes you'll be lucky and you'll see like Robin Williams' Popeye show up or something like that. They just had that selection, and it was just different. It was just really, really different. And I think ever since then, I was like so hooked to HBO. And then, move forward to like the 90s, where it was on everyone's cable box if you paid for it. Or didn't pay for it, depending on the type of box you had. I would watch shows like Dream On or Mr. Show, and those were like the shows that I really fell in love with on HBO. And then, of course, you had your Taxi Cab Confessions and Sex Stories or something like that. It was just like like such a huge, diverse catalog of things that they would have, and it is just really, really exciting. And I think, like you, HBO Max is my number one right now, personally, because I do watch a lot of movies on there. Talking about what we're watching right now, I have the new season of Barry just started. Winning Time, which is a phenomenal show. Tokyo Vice, which started like a couple of weeks ago, that I'm really in love with. And then, back in the day, you had your True Bloods, and of course, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, all that stuff. I was watching those things week to week. There was a reason why they used to say Sundays are for HBO, because it really was. That's when they released all their new episodes, and you would just be there in one night just watching all the latest episodes. And now, since they dabbled with day release of new releases, especially from the Warner Brothers catalog, they already guaranteed that any new Warner Brothers movie that comes out in theaters will live on HBO 45 days after the fact. So I think that's what made it even more appealing to people, and why their subscription growth is tremendous right now, is because you still have a lot of people who don't want to go to theaters, but they want to see the latest Batman movie or West Side Story or something like that. They know if they are patient enough and they wait a month and a half, they'll be able to watch it at home. So I think that's what makes it very appealing for a lot of people, and even for myself, because I may want to watch something in the theater, but then I want to watch it again. I just have to be patient and wait, and then boom, it's already available at home, and I don't have to pay anything extra for it. So I think that's what's one of the biggest things that's appealing to a lot of people right now.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode so far, but before we continue, I wanted to quickly talk about Bulletproof Coffee. Bulletproof Coffee is my favorite coffee of choice to start off my mornings with. Why? Because it's clean coffee. What does that mean? Well, one, There are no chemicals in it. Why? Because they go through this multi-step process of making sure that all of their beans are fully clean and free of any chemicals, so that when you get the beans delivered to you, it is the pure beans, the pure coffee, the goodness that you've been wanting, the taste, the flavor, and the nutritional value as well, without worrying about any added chemicals or anything else put into the mix there. It also doesn't have that weird acidic taste that some coffees give you. I don't know how about you, but for me, some coffees kind of give me that weird sensation in my stomach, makes me a little burpy, and it kind of drags me down a little bit instead of really waking me up, which is something that I need from my coffee every day. Bulletproof also offers a lot of keto-friendly snacks and supplements, anything that you need to kind of add to your everyday nutritional needs, add to your diet, and make you, and pretty much transforms the way you feel every day. So for a limited time, if you use this code on that you see on the screen right now, LOWKEY GEEK, all caps, one word, you can get 15% off your order. So what is it better than that, right? Check out the link in the description of this episode. Use this code, get yourself your discount, and make your mornings a little bit more bulletproof with Bulletproof Coffee. Now, back to the episode. So there's HBO. So, and I guess the next big dog in this whole platform is Disney Plus. We can move into Disney Plus right now. I mean, Disney Plus, that's your home, obviously, of everything Disney, right? So if you were a fan of the movies, if you had the Disney Channel back in the day and you grew up with all of those, Disney Plus movies or shows, they have access to all of them. If you remember the Disney afternoons when you were a kid, your Rescue Rangers, your DuckTales, Gargoyles, you have access to all of that there. Plus, it's home of arguably the two biggest franchises right now, and that's Star Wars and Marvel. So anything Star Wars related, you have it there. Anything Marvel related, you have it there too. And they're already starting to do, obviously, the exclusive shows for both franchises. Right now, currently they have Moon Knight, and like in a couple of weeks, we're gonna have Obi-Wan for Star Wars fans, right? So it's definitely gotten a lot of attention because of all the franchises under their belts and everything. And now with their, they bought out Fox. A lot of the Fox movies are going to be available on there. And now that, especially since they've adjusted their parental controls so that you could set yourself up to more mature content, they're going to be releasing, I'm pretty sure, more stuff like that soon too. So definitely a big platform and heavy competition with the last two we talked about. As far as pricing is concerned, now this is where it gets a little tricky. So if you have Disney Plus, if you want that alone, that's like $8 a month. You could also pay an annual fee of $80 for the whole year. However, since Disney does own Hulu and ESPN, you can have what they call the Disney Plus bundle, which will bundle all of those things up, and all you have to pay is $14 a month. Now, the only downside is that Hulu will be available with ads. If you wanted an ad-free experience with Hulu, then you'll have to pay $20 a month. And then there's additional tiers for like Hulu Live TV and and all this kind of stuff like that, right? So, but if we're talking Disney Plus alone, it's $8 a month. But keep in mind, obviously, if you have Hulu as well, then it would probably be in your best interest to just get the bundle and then just bundle it all up together, because you will be saving some dough there. So, Blake, what is your feelings on Disney Plus?
Surprisingly often going to Disney Plus, even though I think of it more as a niche thing. There are a lot of high quality Disney movies of time that they have on their library, but it's mainly exactly what you said: Star Wars, Marvel.
Yeah.
I watch basically everything that's come out through those on those IP. At one point when I got Disney Plus, it was because I was doing a Marvel binge to catch up on all of the MCU at one
Mm-hmm.
time before a certain movie was coming out, and I've had it since. It has a lot of proven true content. I know this is a good piece of IP. I know that Marvel and Star Wars, they're reliable, dependable, and I don't know if that's what they're going for with their business model, but
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. Also, if you want to see live action Lady and the Tramp, there's only one place you can do that. I have not seen that one. They have a lot of stuff. I think if somebody, my understanding, because my brother has two kids, and that's where I
Hmm.
got in on Disney Plus originally. That's like you could just use that only, and they have enough content there to keep someone happy from the time of birth, essentially.
Hmm. Yeah.
I know that that's another, I guess, one of the niche ones. Like there's like PBS Kids and then Netflix Kids, which I don't have kids, so I haven't messed with
Hmm.
those. If somebody needs that, there are plenty of mommy and daddy websites for you to enjoy. I'm sure they rank these things,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I don't. A lot of the content on Disney Plus isn't for me. The content that is there are things that I will check out and will rewatch
Hmm.
however many times. I also think of it as another one of those. If I have people over, I know that if you had a group of people, somebody's can't go wrong with a Marvel movie. Some crowd
Hmm.
pleaser like that, or a Star Wars movie, or whatever. So it's pretty safe bet, and it definitely doesn't have the issue that some of the other ones have, where you can get lost in the library. When
Right.
I first joined, only a few months after it came out, I think, went through their entire library, built a watch list out of
Hmm.
that. I tried to do that with some of the other ones at various points. I have that like OCD thing where I want to know, I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I build out a huge queue that I never get to. Disney
Yeah.
was one of the only ones where that was actually feasible, and I still think it is.
Hmm.
I don't use it as often for, oh, I just want to pop something on, but I do find myself every time there's a new Marvel show, I'll go there and binge it. That's, I think, the main place where they've kept me there. Boba Fett didn't do it for me. I'm going to definitely give Obi-Wan a try. But they have been a fan of those two properties. If somebody doesn't have a child, doesn't care about Marvel or Star Wars, this probably isn't going to be the venue for you. There's some great classic movies, like Sound of Music is on Disney Plus. That
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
my all-time favorite movies. Have rewatched it I don't know how many times. They have some great classics like that.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably in my 3 or 4 spot. And
Hmm.
I view it. I know that you are probably more prone to enjoying what's on there. I view it as more of the second tier, and that maybe a Prime or a Hulu are above it for my which
Hmm.
ones I use the most. But I still do find myself enjoying the Disney Plus app, and I do think that their UI is as close to perfect as something can get. It's a very clean app, and I appreciate the way that is.
Extremely clean. It is like the probably the cleanest experience, like with compared to all these other platforms. And it's true because of my love of Marvel, my love of Star Wars, and Disney too. Like I'm a huge fan of like Pixar and a lot of the Disney, like the classic Disney animated stuff. Disney ranks as number two for me. You know, like that is like my number two platform that I really enjoy. And also, I think the popularity of Disney Plus will have to depend on what they do for their own exclusive content moving forward. That's not Marvel or Star Wars, right? I know they have National Geographic there, so if you're a big fan of like the nature films and documentaries, then that is also probably a great place to go to. I do like what they do with Jeff Goldblum and his own like little exclusive show that he has on there, where basically Jeff Goldblum just goes, you know, spends an episode learning about something for the first time, and you get to watch him like, ooh, this is fascinating, and all this kind of stuff like that. But it'll be interesting to see like what they're gonna do with more exclusive content like that, because like you said, if someone doesn't have kids, they're not particularly a huge fan of either Disney content, Marvel, and or Star Wars, then they will probably never touch this app at all. So how can they get somebody to want to go on there if they're not like a huge fan of either of those, right? So, and I think that's one of the things that they're gonna have to figure out moving forward, or not, because Disney is a freaking multi-billion trillion dollar company, and you know people will pay for their stuff regardless, right? Because I think in every household there's going to be one person who's going to be a fan of any of those properties, right? So and price wise, it's not the most expensive. So it's not like you're throwing a lot of money away every month. especially if you bundle it up with Hulu, that may offer you additional stuff that Disney probably wouldn't have, you know. So and that's something we could talk about a little later once we get to them. So yeah, so that's Disney Plus there for you guys. Hey everybody, I hope you're enjoying this little rundown and reviews of all the streaming platforms and our thoughts on them. If you want to see part 2 of our discussion, make sure to click on the video you see right here on the screen right now. Or if you want to skip ahead and just check out our power rankings of all of the streaming platforms, make sure to check out this video you see right here. And don't forget to let us know what your thoughts are on all of these streaming platforms in the comments below.